Intacct Office Hour. I'm Katie Geyer, the Sage Intacct Customer Success Manager at BrainSell, and I will be your host for today. I'm joined by Sage Intacct Implementation Engineer Extraordinaire, Kellyanne Bonds, who will show you a little bit about the various parts of Sage Intacct and answer hopefully all of your questions. Some of the housekeeping items that we have is everyone will be upgraded to the panelists during the Q&A session, which will allow you to use your microphone, which is in the top right. You can just unmute yourself and ask questions live. So our hope is that this is really interactive and we just answer whatever questions you have, whether it's in regard to this material or not. Please feel free to just ask away. So you can also use the question box to submit any questions during the hour. So let's just kick it off really quickly with some poll questions. And Karsten Pollard, our marketing, will launch that. So what is your current role in your organization? As you can see, CEO, CFO, AP, AR specialist, controller, or other. And just waiting. Okay. So there we go. So mostly AP AR specialists here today. We've got a few controllers in the house and then a few CEOs. So thank you for that. I think we have another one. So what do you expect to get out of today's office hour? One, new information on new features, just learning new ways to enhance your system, ensure we are using all the available features in Intacct, or just wanted to join the fun and see what this is all about. All right, so again, most of us are here to see that new information on those features, ensure that we are using all the available features in Intacct and learning new ways to enhance the system, and hopefully you'll have fun. Last question, nope, that was it. Okay, so two questions. This is just the quick agenda. We're gonna go over Sage Intacct, the R1 and R2 release notes. Kellyanne's gonna show you an AP automation and bill PDF upload. So she'll demo that, and then vendor list enhancements. And we'll just end with custom list and reports. So thank you again all so much for joining. I'm gonna hand it over to Kellyanne Bonds.
Thanks so much, Katie. My name is Kellyanne Bonds. I'm the Sage Intacct Implementation Engineer Extraordinaire, apparently, but just a SME, just a subject matter expert in Sage. And today, yep, we will be discussing these 4 items, the release notes, as well as the bill PDF upload, and a little bit of the beta vendor list, and just custom list and reports as well. So we'll start off with the new AP automation tool that came out last quarter. It is given the ability to upload PDF bills directly into Sage Intacct. This does reduce manual data entry. However, there is an asterisk to this first bullet point, as Sage did release this, and then they will be starting to charge for this service after, I believe it's September, right, Katie Geyer? So after September, if you guys still do like the feature,
Yes.
You will want to start talking to a CSM or someone, you know, that can work with Sage Intacct on the pricing of that. We will walk through what those PDFs, what that upload looks like and how it codes those. What it also does is it automatically extracts the key data such as vendor, date, amount, and line items. So if you have it set to pull out individual line items, it can pull out individual line items and code those, or you can go ahead and just summarize it all and keep it good to go. And then your third bullet point here is streamlining AP process. Obviously that happens when you automate. We'll take a look at that in a second here. So if we can go on to the next slide. The vendor list enhancements, this is in beta testing, but the vendor list in beta, I think, is best. That is because you get improved visibility and management of vendor information. It's really easy to split screen and point and click to edit anything you need and have that ease to go out and back in instead of having to go all the way around. And number two, ability to create and customize vendor lists based on specific criteria. Obviously, you all know that we can already do that with the basic list features, and we'll walk into those as well. But the beta does have some great filters that you can also configure and customize to your needs. Then third, we have enhanced search functionality to quickly find relevant vendor information. And we've always had that search functionality, but Sage has really enhanced it with the beta. And again, this beta is only available on the vendor list currently and for US vendors only, for US companies with a US vendor list, just to be clear. And let's go on to the third. So this one is just your basic custom list and reports, and I wanted to touch on this as the beta is kind of a reflection of this and starting to be better than the custom list and reports, but I think it's still important to know how the custom goes. And so we'll look at personalized dashboards to review data and track KPIs. And then we'll also look at the ability to create custom lists and reports based on unique business needs, improve data visualization to easily identify trends and outliers, really important to spot those outliers. And then you simplify by just sharing and collaborating those reports with team members. And you can also work on, gathering those report packages and being able to just email them to folks that are maybe not even users in the system. So if we go to the next slide, I believe it's one more. That's all. Kirsten, do you have the slide next? I'm not sure if I'm frozen. Oh, okay. I will share my screen here. Yep, and let's see which one screen. Okay. All right, and let me know when you guys can see my screen. It should say Skyline Software and PST in the top left corner.
Yeah, we can see it. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, so first we're going to go over to accounts payable, and we're going to take a look at that vendor list, but we'll actually focus on the first item, the AP bill upload. So as you see here, once I have enabled this feature, again, it is a free feature now, but will not be after Q3. So just something to keep in mind for Q3 as we go forward. But you have this option to upload, but you also have an option to email it, which is pretty neat as well. And I'm going to just show you the upload feature today, as the email is just a minute slower, but the upload here, we would go ahead and pick out which location if we are at the top level. If that entity or location does change for us here, we would want to put that information here. And then this here in the generate each bill with, this is what I was discussing about consolidating. So you can consolidate to a single line item that summarizes the total, or you can get all line items and associated amounts. I think this summarization is probably your best way to go when you're first starting. That way you can get comfortable with the coding, comfortable with how it's automating these processes for you, and then you can, as you see, browse files. You can do up to 30 unencrypted, emphasis on the unencrypted, PDF, JPEG, JPG, TIFF, or PNG. And your maximum file size is 20 MB, so megabytes. And so I'm going to browse files and go ahead and pick out, oh man, let's see here. All right, let me find where this is here, and I'm going to pick out this demo invoice that I have. Give me just a second. And again, this is just a demo, so this one will be a ADP bill, for example, and that went ahead and I clicked Browse Files. All I did was select the file once I found it, successfully uploaded one file, and now I can create bills. So now that I've created bills, I will go ahead and refresh, and now it's analyzing. So the state is in Analyze. And we'll see today's date marked on here, but then once it goes ahead and finishes this upload and finishes the state of analyzing, then it will go ahead and put it to the correct date that it is already marked on the invoice. So if we refresh, looks like it's in draft now. And so we're just going to wait one more second and hit refresh one more time. Looks like that did it. So I'm going to type in ADP here because I knew that bill was for ADP. And it was actually 793. So I already had the bill in here. And we'll see that I've got the draft. And that is actually not it. Let's see here. I've got to refresh one more time. You might not have picked up the vendor name. Let's refresh one more time. And I'm actually going to sort by source. That way we can see where the bill upload is and see, as you can see, that third one was an email upload that I did, and I'm still not seeing that fourth one that's sent through, but we can take a look at the draft of these two. So once it does come in, it does go into a draft state, so you do have the option to edit. As you can see, it does say this already exists, and it does go ahead and find me my dimensions for me. So if we see in the split view, so I do have split view enabled on my user preferences, and I can show you guys how to enable that as well. For your split view is really on this screen, it's easier to see at 75%. I know it might be a little bit small on your side. But as you can see, you see the PDF version of the bill on the right, and all I'm doing is control zooming in on the right side of the screen. So we see it has pulled the date of 7/18/2022. It has pulled the ADP vendor with its information as well as that number with the invoice. Now I'm going to delete that hashtag because that I feel will interrupt the system and not let me go forward. So I'm just going to put a 0.20 on this just so that we know this is second one. I'll just put 0.2 instead. And then we see the net 30 terms came over as well as the amount. So this goes ahead and codes it to what it remembers your last bill was for that particular vendor. And as we see here, your amount came over, transaction amount, base amount, and then you scroll all the way to the right and you've got your memo if you did need to edit a line item memo. So if I did want to put in a memo, I could put in memo 1313, something like that, if there was a memo needed on this. Now I can always have the option to, if I scroll out, it's a little funky on the zoom here, but I will control zoom back in. And after I've made my edits, I can go ahead and post, or I can choose draft if I still would like to draft. And then also something to note is I can duplicate. And one last item to note is that this demo AP bill did get automatically attached to the entry. So that is what's really neat, and that's really the point of, really why it should be a service, is because it is posted and it allows you to draft, and then it reads the bill for you, and then it goes ahead and scans all that information in. So now with that being said, I'm going to switch over to the vendor beta list. And as you see here at the orange eye, you can hover over that and take a look at this video, or you can just say got it, but turn on list beta interface. We'll turn that on for you. And you can switch back and forth from beta at any time on the vendor list only. Again, it's only for US vendors, and it just turns off beta with this power button here on the right. And what's important to note here is it is very similar to the basic custom lists and reports that we will also take a look at after this. But we can take a look and create a new view. And these steps are a little bit more simpler than we thought they could be, because the custom list has all the steps split up. But if you see, these steps are split up only into 5 categories. So if I want to make a view name, and let's call it, 1099 vendors. A lot of folks like to review their 1099 vendors. And you'll see also that you get the option to format your text wrapping. For address line, I usually like to wrap. That way I get to see the full image. And then similar with vendor name, sometimes I like that wrapped. It's up to you. Again, it's just like how you would wrap text in Excel. So it just allows it to fill up the entire cell instead of cutting it short, really. And then what you can do as well is you can drag and drop your columns here. Now, if I'm just looking for a specific state maybe, and I want to keep my state and vendor ID up here, I would want to go ahead and first freeze the first 2 columns. So that way, when I go ahead and I'm scanning through my data and I scroll to the right, those first 2 columns stay put. And that freeze is really only available in the beta mode. So then we've got our filters just like usual, but on the 3rd step here. And I could say, maybe if 1099 equals true, but I really just wanted to see all 1099 information, so I'm not going to put a filter on here now. I do recommend, if you do put filters on your views, to make sure that you label your view in the first step with that filter. So because this says 1099 vendors, I guess I'll throw a filter on there, and we'll put in 1099 if there is that Form 1099 eligible. But Form 1099 box, we want it to see if it equals, would either say 1 or 0 or true or false. Because I don't know this object, I'm just going to stick with the 1099 eligible, and that'll go ahead and pull those values for me. So I'm going to say equals true, and this will be everyone who's 1099 eligible. And I can also sort by, and we can add vendor ID here. Oh, and that V took me up to the top of the screen. Let's see if vendor ID is in here. It's automatically going to just ascend like that. I always get descend and ascend mixed up. I apologize, but we do have vendor ID here, and we can always change that to ascend or descend. And so I'm always going to go ascend. And as we scroll down, we see the shared. So shared is your 5th step, and that's only you have access to this view, or public, anyone can see this view. But the most important part is that step 2 is that and make updates. So very important to note is that others can make updates if you make it available to them. So if you want it just for you, maybe just keep it private, So I would definitely think about that. But if everyone needs the 1099 view and it's just one filter, then I would put it public and go ahead and save that. Now, as you'll see here, it's a little bit different than the custom view. Your custom view usually does not snap you right into the view. It'll go ahead and bring you back to all, and then you'll get defaulted to all, and then you'll want to go ahead and pick that new user view. As you can see, I have already got a 1099 one out here as well. But something to note as well is that when you click on the vendor name in beta, and I apologize, this query, not sure what that was doing there, but when you're in beta and you click on something like this, the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, or any of your vendor names. You're going to want to click on that, and you will see that this will pull up the vendor card instead of your vendor report. So usually when we click on the vendor name in the, I don't want to call it alpha, but in the opposite of the beta, you're going to see that when you click on the name, it'll actually give you a report of the vendor and basically a screenshot of that vendor. And here in beta, you get the opportunity to be able to edit each card and then go in and out as you please. So as you see, we can easily change anything here. We can add, a 0 or a 1 if that was the right information. But I'll just save that now just so you can see how this can be saved. And then as it's saved, it brings you back out, and then you can go ahead back in to whichever one you need to go back in to edit. So with that information, I'm going to go back to the reverse of beta. So I'm going to turn this off with the power switch on it's just the regular circle power button that you guys saw. And now if I am in that custom view or just my regular view and we click on the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, I'll see that this has, and it looks like it didn't pick a location because I was at the top level. So I'm going to customize it, and I can either pick my level here on the entity, or I can pick my location here and say, you know what, I want all globe. And I will include one-time vendors or exclude, do either or. And I always go with GL posting date, not document date, as this is what actually hits your general ledger, and that'll be helpful in the end. So I will click view, and it looks like it's not taking that location, probably because it's a little too big for my memory right now. So let's go to USA operating, and then we'll view that and see if there's anything in here, any data. And there's some balance forward, but there's no real data. Obviously, this is a demo environment, and I don't think my date range was suitable. So if I did want to change that date range, could easily do that, as you guys know how that works. And you can also pick a start point and an end point, just like any report. And so with that being said, let's go back to the vendors and really compare the custom view to the beta. So back to manage views, but now back on the custom. And this is just on any screen too. So it's not just for vendors, not just for the AP side of things. This can be used in any list. And as you see, I just clicked create new view, and it brought me to a couple default views. So it does default and check a couple boxes for you. You can always, uncheck a box if you'd like. Obviously, check more if you need. What I would do here again is repeat probably that 1099 view that I had. So if I want to see any of that information, I'll say maybe form 1099 box, form 1099 type, and then box, and maybe 1099 name. Make sure I've got all of that. Now, as I scroll down, you'll see that this is pulling now from a new table. So each one of these gray areas is a new table. And that table actually is able still to be pulled from your original table, but it'll pull out even more information. So as you can see, we've got that 1099 information all down here. And if I did want to see that all in my single view, I could just go ahead and click on all the boxes. Now, unfortunately, there is no select all per each object, but that's probably going to be on their way soon, and I'm assuming that's going to be probably on the beta once they fully release that. So just something to note. And just going to skip this last column because we're crunching on time, but let's select column sequence. As you guys know, you can select column sequence, just drag and drop. And then if you're like me or not, I'm not sure, I always hate the lowercase. So if you want to, go ahead and just fix these, if they frustrate you as much as they do me, then go for it. If not, you can keep it the same. It's all up to you. And all of these headers do get exported with your data if you're ready to export into Excel. So then I can get those filters going again, and I can get that 1099 box equal. And this is the reason why the beta view is better, because it picks up those values for you. So here I would have to write true, and I would want to make sure that in fact is true. It's not a Boolean or a 0 to 1 or maybe just a T to F. So I'm going to actually remove this filter and keep it as none. And then we could sort results, of course, the ascending or descending. I'm going to stick with ascending on vendor ID. Now on step 4, you'll see that you can rearrange again the sequence, but it's actually just sorting it. It's not the way you're going to see it. So this is how it's sorted. So if I wanted vendor name to be above and to be ascending, well, that'll take precedence over my vendor ID. So if I don't want that to be, then I will take that down to number 2 and have the vendor ID ascending, and then maybe vendor name ascending or descending based on my needs. Now I can have up to 3 sorted results. So if I did want ascending, and maybe ascending for 1099 name if it's any different, could do that as well. And then we go to the next step. And I'll just say this is 1099 info because I didn't put on a filter, but I did grab that info. And I can always add a description. Always a great idea to add a description as you are in a cloud system and you're all working together. As you can see, this 5th step does not have that share button. It does have deploy, and deploy allows you and everyone to be able to edit this view. So that is what's better about beta, is that it does allow you that 5th step to choose to share, keep it private, or keep it public. So that's pretty nice. And then, like I was saying earlier, it does default you back to all. And then you're going to want to select which one you just created. So I created the info. So we'll go to 1099 info. And as you can see, I've got all my columns now. And if there was any 1099 vendor information in here, it would be here. Now I can always select on any of these and they will sort for me by ascending or descending. And it looks like I don't have any 1099 vendors in here on the top level. So bad example, but at least it still carried the point. And that explains the custom views. Now, if I ever wanted to export, obviously always go all the way to the right. And you could do CSV, but Excel, I believe, is best. Your CSV will let you see that those values are still there. And if you're trying to import them in somewhere else, maybe the CSV is better for you. It's really up to you, especially when you're running reports, though. We'll go to just a basic general ledger report. And let's see which ones we've got out here. I'm just going to go back to, let's see, 2020 and 2020. I think I've got data in here for that. And so you don't need to clear the as update. It'll already know that you already set a start and end. But one thing I wanted to point out is that obviously we've got tab location. I'll do just 100. And then we've got down here the include accounts on each line for CSV export. So this is the reason why I see folks using CSV is for those pivot tables. A lot of folks still like your pivot tables, and that's A-okay. You can go ahead and do that in Excel all day. So I would just check this box to include account on each line for CSV export. And that way, when I go to pull out a range of account numbers, it'll go ahead and give me, and let's just do the cash accounts to 7, Bank of South Africa. And I can also obviously select other books if I have adjustment books, allocation books, etc. But I'm going to go ahead and view this now. It might take a second because it is a lot of information. Oh, I had the wrong date range. So that's my fault. Let's see if we've got it for 22. And there we go. And so let me zoom out a little bit here. As you guys know, anything blue in Sage is drill down capable, which is great. So you get that opportunity to drill down on the debit or the credit, but also the date. So sometimes this date is allowing you to go ahead and click on that. And if it's a balance forward, it won't let you click on the date because there's no journal entry that was created from that balance forward. It's just carrying it from historical data. But as you can see, we can drill down all the way down to the journal entry. And with that being said, we do have all of our dimensions up here. Your general ledger report, we can memorize any report, whether we've just set the date range or we set a custom filter set. And we can memorize it, and then we can add to dashboard, or we can just directly add it to dashboard once it's been run. So now that it's been run, I can add to dashboard. And I can go ahead and pick which dashboard I want it on. And I've got a couple out here, but I'm just going to pick, this is just a general ledger report for cash. So maybe we want it based on the controller USA. I'll put it there for now, and I'll name it GL Cash 2022. And then I'll make it public, so that it's a public parameter, or a public, sorry, not a parameter, a public, not a mod, but basically a piece of your dashboard. So a component, sorry about that, a component. And as we go forward, we'll go ahead and take a look at that component in the dashboards. We added it to little trick here as well. The % sign helps you get to any search that you need to find with that word in it. So I'm going to go ahead and type in controller, and we've got USA, and so I will view components on USA. And you can see I do have some filters up here on my dashboard. These can be added, but there can only be 3. And also on the individual components themselves, as you go to edit them and go to settings, you'll see that dashboard filtering sometimes is allowed and sometimes is not allowed. So I would make sure that your components are the least filtered, and then go ahead and allow yourself to filter based on dashboard. That way you get really all the flexibility and can change your, not can change, but can change your view on the KPIs. So for example, this is 200. If we took it to the 300 admin and we apply, we'll see all of our KPIs change. And so that's really important to note, is that the ones that do not change, you're going to want to make sure you label those with the information that is in your filter. So I'm just dragged and dropped this one from the left to the middle. And this is that report that we just ran and embedded in our dashboard. So I was able to run it on the go, and then I was able also to embed it once I ran it on the go. So now I can also have that drill down capability, and I can also have, you know, the capability to edit any other component that I needed to. So with that being said, that concludes everything that I wanted to show you guys today. I did want to show one more dashboard, and that is the role-based CFO. view. It just looks pretty nice with all these KPIs. These role-based dashboards are out there now from Q4 of last year. They got released as role-based dashboards. So if you are using your quick start categories correctly, you will be able to use these dashboards and at least be able to tweak with what's available. So with that being said, Katie Geyer, I'll toss it back to you.
Yeah, so just reaching out. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask them now, or you can put them in the question box. We have 2 questions that popped up. How can I get AP automation up and running in my Sage Intacct instance?
Great question. Yep. So you'll want to reach out to your CSM, or if we're not your partner, then you'll want to reach out to your partner or Sage directly and have them turn that feature on for you. Can you guys still see my screen? Yes
Not,
or no?
it just says
Oh,
Q&A.
it's okay.
We can't, yeah.
No problem, no problem. It's just the one part that I didn't show was the email, and that is on the Configure AP page, and that's available once you go ahead and unlock it with Sage. So yes, you need to let Sage know, and then they'll go ahead and put that enhancement on your system for you.
Okay, and the other last question we have here is, do you, Kellyanne, offer any additional training for these features?
Oh, definitely. Yep. We've got support blocks, and yeah, we'll touch on that here with you, Katie, in a little bit.
Okay. So I think that's all we have, unless anyone has like a final comment or question.
We had one more question come in, Katie.
Oh, we did.
The question was, do the different role-based dashboards cost to use?
Nope, those are all available, and I believe there are 8 of them. Let me make sure. There's the CFO, the controller, the AP manager, AR manager. Yep, I believe there are 8, and those are all going to be in your dashboards module, and then in the right corner, dashboards library. And you can just install those and, just see where they fall, because if you are using those quick start categories correctly, then yes, everything will fall into place. If not, then you learn where your data was out of place, and then you can rearrange it and make sure it's, perfect instead of just great.
Kellyanne, we had another question. So the beta version, do they need to purchase that, or is that a free offering right now? Okay.
Yes, the beta is only on the vendor list. And if we take a look, yep, it's in your accounts payable and that orange eye vendor list. Yeah.
All right. All right, I think that's it. So I just want to thank everyone so much for joining us today. Thank you, Kellyanne, always for sharing your knowledge. As you exit the webinar, if you will just review that survey asking what you'd like to see maybe in future sessions, please fill it out. We would appreciate your feedback and get your questions answered. So if you have any other questions or are interested again in working more with Kellyanne, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is listed right there, and you can also scan the QR code to check out our discounted support block rates. So thank you all, everyone, for your time today, and have a wonderful week. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.